welcome. I'm Lenny Tvedten. Today we're going to take a closer look at local history through the Martin County Historical Society series called Out of the Past. My special guest today is Darwin Anderson. He's from the Tremont area. He's going to give us a little history lesson on Tremont. First of all, Darwin, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into the history of Tremont in that area.
Okay, I was born at Grenada, graduated from Grenada High School, went to college, and went off to teach school for 4 years, and my wife and I were both teachers. And in 1960, we moved back to Tremont as I was offered a position in the bank by Bev's father. I started in the bank in 1960. The bank was very small. It was $1,850,000 in deposits. Today it's over $60 million in deposits. Tremont is a community that has a wonderful history. It was two towns, Monterey and Triumph. And the two towns, there was two railroads that came up through to across them, and they crossed just outside of town 1 mile, the two railroads. So there was a mile apart. There were two communities built. Monterey is on the west side, and Triumph is on the east side.
What separates the two? Is that Highway 4?
Highway 4 now separates them. So then we have two business districts, two fire departments, two consuls, two of everything.
Two mayors?
Two mayors. And in 1959, Les Peterson, who is my partner in the bank, and also my brother-in-law, became mayor, and they joined the two towns into Tremont. So Tremont became in 1959.
Was there kind of a rivalry between the two towns prior to that, when it was Triumph and Monterey?
There was people that claimed that they never went down to the other end, you know. And I don't want to use any names, but I can tell you that the people that didn't.
Was it pretty serious? I mean, were they really?
Oh yeah, it was serious. It was one of those things that just came over the years, and that ceased. You know, I mean, Tremont is a real good community. It's a community of it's known for its being clean and neat, and that's a real important thing for a town. And if you come to Tremont, you'll see that there's very little old buildings and that kind of thing. They've been taken care of.
Seems like, from what I've seen, the population of Tremont's been pretty stable for many, many years, actually.
Yes, it has. And we have a good school system. The school system was merged into Martin County West. Probably one of the strongest things that my children all went to Tremont before it was merged. All of them went off to college, and all felt they were prepared for college. So education is important in Tremont. And now it's probably even better with Martin County West.
Sure.
And if I could just say something, I think agriculture is such an important part of our community. And so a strong FFA program, ag program in the school is really needed.
Okay, and then we're, I'm kind of interested in the history of Tremont. And I know there was one individual that's quite a historian that came from Tremont. That's Walter Carlson. We have a room in the museum named after him, the Walter Carlson Room. What do you know about Walter Carlson? Did you know him personally, or what can you tell us about him?
I knew him very well. In fact, at one time our bank sponsored a tour, and we asked Walter Carlson to put together a tour of the Tremont area. And he put together a 22-mile tour that went all around the Tremont area. And he pointed to important farms of history, schools, funeral homes, funeral cemeteries, and that kind of thing. And one thing I remember was that he pointed out that Elm Creek Cemetery, which is right up on Highway 4, north of Shermer, is the oldest corporation in Martin County.
Really?
It came here in 1856.
Wow. What do you think spurred his interest in history? Do you have any idea?
Well, first of all, he was intelligent. There was a lot of intelligence in the Carlson family. And they're an old family, and they're a Swedish family. and there's a lot of history that comes out of the town, like the village hamlet of Cedarville, which is out north of Tremont, and so that whole, it's a historic community.
Mm-hmm.
It's been there a long time.
Excuse me, anybody else, you mentioned, was it Arthur Carlson?
Arthur Carlson's his brother. There's a story about that. Arthur Carlson was a real worker, and after he was a farmer, seed corn salesman. Once he retired, he just couldn't stand not working. So he'd go to people in the community and say, have you got some brush that needs taken away? And so he had a pickup and a little trailer, and he'd cut the brush and haul it away and take it to the dump. And everybody thought the city was paying him, but the city thought the people were paying him. And so nobody was paying him. Well, I found out about that, so I nominated him for an award out of KEYC-TV, and he won, you know, for his work he's done. Well, each one of us got a little tree as a part at a banquet from this, about this high. And so I took mine home. And on a home farm out here at Grenada, we have a wildlife refuge that we planted in 1987, 7 acres. And there was one tree within this line of evergreens that wasn't there. So I took my tree and took it out there, and we named the tree Arthur, after Arthur Carlson. And this tree stands today. You know,
Longevity.
Longevity, but the thing about that tree was it wasn't like the other trees. It's an ornamental tree.
Oh.
Whoever bought the trees for us didn't know the difference. So it's just a little short tree. It's about 6 feet tall. It's been there for 20 years. You know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you've lived in Tremont since 1960, you said.
Yes.
So you've obviously seen some changes over the years.
Yes.
What would you consider the most significant changes that you've seen over the years in Tremont, and maybe that's positive to the area?
Okay, what we have to remember is that agriculture is the backbone of pretty much all communities in southern Minnesota.
Yeah.
And so agriculture has grown. And when it grew, farmers were incorporated, farms were incorporated, so there's less people, and so there's less labor, which has been replaced by capital. And so these huge farms are there. So we don't need a shoe person. We don't need a clothing store in every town, but we do need something that serves agriculture. That's what banks have done. That's what insurance agencies have done. That's what elevators have done. And so that's what I've seen, the change coming from small services into these giant New Way cooperative. For instance, a huge thing. Or Crystal Valley is putting in a huge feed mill in Tremont that we never hear about. It's 160 feet tall. And it's worth your to drive up there, and they're going to mill feed there. So it's what I've seen is a change going. It's serving agriculture.
Okay, I know too that you do a lot of writing, Darwin.
Yeah.
And you were telling me about a book that you just recently had published this year, I think, about a Christmas tree.
That's right.
Can you show us that and tell us a little bit about that book?
Well, our Christmas tree it's called Proud to be a Christmas Tree. And this is the 5th book I've written, and I'm not selling books, you know. But in any case, this book the book has been written by the tree. And so the tree starts out from a seed.
From the perspective of the tree.
The tree is doing all the talking. So, and it goes from the time it's a seed till the time it's put in trays, till the time it goes out into the fields, then to the time it's cut for a Christmas tree. And this Christmas tree comes into our house, and it's beautified by straw decorations that my wife makes, and all the ornaments and all that, and it's a place that it makes its way there. But now, most trees are cut and ground up and thrown away. This tree, our Christmas trees are always cut off. The Christmas tree goes out and puts on a post out in the middle of the yard, ties it there, and then we put things in there for birds.
Oh, sure.
So it's got another purpose, you know, that other trees don't have. But the key of the whole tree is that in this tree, there's a acorn, and that this thing started from this acorn, and this acorn falls from this tree and goes into our flower bed, and guess what? It'll be another
Another
tree.
tree.
Yeah.
That's
That's
really, really kind of an educational piece as well.
It's for designed for children.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking. Former teacher, as a former teacher, I can see where it would be.
Yeah.
Very good that way. Well, thank you very much, Darwin, and thank you to our viewers for watching. And we'll see you next time on Out of the Past and at the Pioneer Museum.